Why are thousands, hundreds of thousands of mosquitoes being released here on the streets of Washington, D.C.? It sounds like a surprising thing to do, but around 600,000 of them are being deployed across the capital region this summer with an important task to try and reduce the local mosquito populations. Now, it's not as counterintuitive as you might think, because more mosquitoes, I mean less mosquitoes. Mabel Pickering explains.
We do plan to release 600,000 male mosquitoes. We've actually released several thousand of them already.
Mosquitoes are the deadliest animal in the world. They can also ruin any outdoor summer activity. And hundreds of thousands more of them are being released in the Washington, D.C. area this summer. But these don't bite humans. And their goal is to actually reduce the mosquito population in the region.
These male mosquitoes, when they mate with the female, will actually cause her to become infertile for the rest of her life.
These mosquitoes are commonly known as ZAP males, and Todd Montgomery of Be Safe Mosquito Control is deploying them. The mosquitoes are infected with a gut bacteria called Wolbachia, which results in eggs that don't hatch. Montgomery's business is the first in the US to offer ZAP males to residential homes.
We're the only one doing this residential in the United States.
Residents hire Montgomery to release 1,500 ZAP males every week throughout the summer. That's 24,000 in total. Once released, they stay within a 200-meter radius.
I was like, sign me up, let me know how much it costs, and let's do it.
While the technology is still relatively new in the US, it has seen success in other parts of the world.
This has been done in other countries, especially Singapore, South America, prior to being done here. The U.S. is lagging behind on this technology. In Singapore, they've reduced the mosquito population by about 80 to 90%.
Climate change means that mosquitoes thrive in more temperate parts of the U.S. And as mosquitoes expand their range, so do the diseases that they can carry.
Our backyard in the summer is basically just not usable. I think it's only been made worse by climate change.
Now, let's talk a little bit more about that, because Professor Elizabeth McGraw is Department Head of Biology at the Eberly College of Science at Penn State University. And I've been talking to her about whether the rising mosquito population across the US cities is a cause for concern.
Yeah, I think for several mosquito species of concern, Aedes aegypti and Aedes albopictus, what we're seeing is an expanded range globally. These mosquitoes thrive in and around human habitats and urban environments, and with changing conditions around human society, but also increasing temperatures globally, we're seeing them spread.
So if there are more mosquitoes, then when you hear that Washington, D.C., amongst other places, is unleashing a whole crew of even more mosquitoes to try and counter the problem, explain the logic of that to us.
Yeah, this is a really interesting technique of releasing male-only mosquitoes. So the mosquitoes that bite you are always female, and they're seeking protein in your blood to raise their offspring. So if you release males, you shouldn't increase any biting or any of the risks associated with disease. And this is a technology that's based on a symbiont, so a bacterium that lives inside mosquitoes. Now, the mosquitoes that are being targeted naturally carry this bacterium, but the people releasing these mosquitoes are releasing mosquitoes that carry a different strain, and the two are incompatible with each other. So when you release these mosquitoes with a different strain of this bacterium, it really shuts down the reproductive success of the local mosquitoes, or the ones that are present in DC already. And so it's an exciting technology to sort of crash the mosquito population, which should then reduce nuisance biting, something that we all find really annoying when we're trying to spend time outside in the summer, but also reduce the potential for transmission of pathogens that can cause disease.
And how long should it take when you release these males with the bacteria to actually have an impact on the mosquito population?
Yeah, I mean, that's an interesting question. And I think it depends on how many you release and how wide the released area is. But, females mate at least, sort of once every generation. And so potentially 10 days to sort of capture a life cycle of these mosquitoes. And so within a period of a few short weeks, you should be able to see the effect of stopping those females from reproducing and then not seeing their offspring hatch as they normally would in the next generation.
But presumably they won't be able to mate with all of the female mosquitoes, so you might still have a population that is renewing itself. So do you have to keep releasing these bacteria men as well at the same time?
Yeah, you do. You have to keep releasing. But, in places like DC, these are sort of near the northern edge of this mosquito's distribution. We know the mosquito population overwinters, so it survives through the winter, but it contracts a fair bit. And so if you can really knock down the population, you might be able to see longer term effects rather than having to continuously re-release males.
But presumably it's incredibly important further south where those mosquitoes are carrying very harmful diseases for humans.
That's right. So increasingly in areas like Florida and Texas, we're seeing local transmission of viruses like dengue that can cause dengue fever. And, it's great for us to begin to adapt this technology and use it on the continental U.S. As climate change continues. We keep seeing these diseases that were traditionally really only present in the tropics marching northwards. We need to have additional strategies in place for controlling them.
Is the bacteria harmful to other animals or indeed to humans?
Yeah, so the nice thing about this bacterium is that it's really natural. It's naturally occurring in these exact same mosquitoes. They're just working with a different strain. We know that the predators of mosquitoes, things like fish and birds, are unharmed. They don't catch this bacterium when they eat the mosquitoes. And so there shouldn't be any issues on the effects on the ecosystem. And because these are mosquitoes that are males, there's no way for them to bite and transmit the bacteria. Even for females that carry this bacterium, we know that when they bite a human, they can't transfer it to a human. So it's very safe technology for the local ecosystem, but also for humans.
And when you mentioned the ecosystem there, are there any knock-on impacts if you were to manage to reduce the mosquito population? Are they useful for anything?
Yeah, I mean, mosquitoes can serve as pollinators, but that's sort of not their primary function. But they do serve as food. What I will say, though, is that there are many mosquito species out there. And so by targeting one or two, we are not likely to have any large-scale effects on the prevalence of food for these other non-target organisms like, birds and fish and salamanders and things like that.